Ruan ran back to her room that morning, blushing, while all the girls teased her. So I looked her up and down and asked why she was walking funny. Poor Ruan wanted to disappear. I locked myself in the captain's room to make my decision. The third infinite transformation slot was waiting. I thought about wood, plastic, food, but dismissed them all. I could already trade for basic stuff using my unlimited water and iron. I needed something rare, something that would change the game completely. I called Jixia in for her opinion. She walked in looking sharp as always, immediately guessed Ruan was pregnant, and got straight to business. She'd been studying the global market and confirmed what I was thinking. Storm cores were the biggest bottleneck in this world. You could only get them from surviving tsunamis, killing captains, or beating rare bosses. Every method was risky and unreliable. On the trading market, they were priceless. Nobody was even selling them. But everyone needed them for ship upgrades and advanced weapons. Her conclusion sealed it. Unlimited storm cores wouldn't just put us ahead, it would let us skip entire stages of development. We could trade them for anything. Rare blueprints, special items, treasures from other seas. We'd control the resource economy. I selected Storm Core from my backpack and confirmed the conversion. Storm Core, Infinity. Done. I felt the weight of that decision. It was massive. Then I pulled out the full blueprint set for the Great Wall, ship that I'd been saving. With unlimited Storm Cores, we finally had everything needed to build it. The construction started, and the whole ship shook. Purple light wrapped around the hull, brighter than anything we'd seen before. The girls ran out on deck and watched in shock as the Pangu reshaped itself. The hull stretched to 150 meters long and 40 meters wide. Wood was replaced with metal armor. Cannon barrels extended from the sides. A dragon head with horns formed at the bow. The turbines at the stern grew massive. When the light faded, a dark gold steel fortress floated on the water. It was beautiful, Eastern elegance mixed with heavy mechanical power. 30 cannons, 3 arrow towers, a mid-level eco-garden, and a special dragon bone hull that boosted defense by 50% and doubled ramming damage. Zhou couldn't believe her eyes. Everyone was screaming with excitement. I stood in the new control room, feeling the solid power beneath my feet. This was a real warship now. Jixia brought me back to reality, though. Our ship was incredible, but our food situation still needed work. Wanqing had exchanged the seed card, but growing high-yield crops required special living soil we didn't have yet. Jixia pointed to a new area on the world map, the Ordinary Sea. It didn't produce rare materials, but it had a huge variety of resources. The living soil we needed was probably there. I activated the ship's broadcast and made the announcement. Attention, everyone. Next stop, the Ordinary Sea area. The Pangu cut through the water smooth and quiet. With the second-level power core, it felt like riding a luxury cruise ship. The girls finally relaxed. They took off their heavy armor and changed into light clothes, tank tops, shorts, skirts blowing in the wind. Zhou sat on the railing fishing with brute force, yanking huge fish out of the water. Su Tao used her bubbles like little kites to reach deeper water. Yao promised her growing dragon she'd find it better food at our next stop. Ruan sat under an umbrella pretending to read, but she kept glancing at my cabin. She walked a little stiff, and the girls noticed. In the corner, Yao watched Ruan's glowing face with clenched teeth, pretending she didn't care. But I could tell she was curious. Then Lily knocked on my door with a few girls behind her, all holding their stomachs. Their periods had started, and they were completely out of supplies. I hadn't thought about this. After 2 weeks at sea with stress and bad nutrition, now that things were stable, their bodies were catching up. I opened the trading market and searched for sanitary pads. The prices were insane, 10 bottles of water per pack. The world chat was full of guys panicking about the same problem. But with unlimited water, this was nothing to me. I bought out the biggest seller, 50 packs for 500 bottles. Then I cleared out everything else on the market. 2 big boxes total. When the girls saw what I brought out, they nearly cried with happiness. Lily tackled me with a hug. I put Jixia in charge of distributing them as strategic supplies. A few hundred bottles of free water bought me the loyalty of every girl on this ship. Best trade I ever made. The next 4 days were peaceful. Sailing, fishing, resting. On the 4th evening, Jixia told me we were approaching the Ordinary Sea area, 1 nautical mile out. When we crossed in, everything felt too normal. Plain blue water, plain blue sky. No monsters, no color, nothing. That's what made it unsettling. Zhou Ling said it felt wrong. So I said it was quiet as a graveyard. Even Yao's dragon was whimpering nervously. I had Jixiao run a full scan. No dangerous monsters detected. 3 tiny boats nearby, all below level 3. But 30 nautical miles ahead, there was a large island covered in green, giving off incredibly strong life signals. That was probably where we'd find the living soil Wanqing needed for the eco-garden. During the voyage, Wanqing had practically moved into the eco-garden. Her seedlings were already sprouting under her plant affinity talent. She talked to them like babies, promising the tomatoes they'd grow big and red. I was determined to get her that soil. We pushed full speed toward the island. As we got closer, an amazing scent hit us. Fresh plants, pure life energy. Everyone felt refreshed just breathing it in. My overlord body, now at 50 physique, could sense something deeper in that smell. The life energy was massive, almost scary. 5 miles from the island, alarms blared. All our scanning equipment went haywire. The screen turned to static, every reading showing question marks. Some unknown energy field was blocking everything. I activated weakness insight and looked at the island. What came back chilled me. Dream garden. Status, sleeping. Weakness, none. A great being is sleeping. Do not disturb the lady's beautiful dreams. This wasn't just an island. It was something alive. Something powerful beyond anything we'd faced. I called battle stations immediately. Everyone armed up, crossbows aimed at the island. We stopped the ship a mile out. Dead silence. Nothing moved. Then a voice appeared, not through our ears, but directly inside our minds. Clear, beautiful, lazy, and slightly annoyed. Like we'd woken someone from a nap. Strangers, thank you for entering my dream. That voice hit everyone's mind like thunder. Girls screamed, stepped back, panicked. Even Zhou Ling and Sa went pale. A voice inside your head is way scarier than any roaring monster. I told everyone to shut up and calm down. I cracked a bad joke about it being a giant parrot that learned to talk. But honestly, my scalp was tingling. That voice carried mental pressure so heavy that even with my 130 spirit points, I shivered. This was no ordinary monster. I checked with Jixiao. Our communication still worked, but the interference was targeting only our ship. We were being singled out. I weighed our options. Run? Maybe. But the life soil we needed was here, and I wasn't even sure we could escape. So I made the call. Fortune favors the brave. I took Zhou Ling, Sa, and Yao with me on a landing raft. Su Tao blew a huge protective bubble over us as cover. Everyone else stayed on the ship under Jixiao's command. The moment we stepped onto the island, we all shivered. The ground was warm and soft, like living skin. The air was so thick with life energy you could almost see it. Vines parted for us on their own, branches lifted out of our way. The island was guiding us. We followed the energy to the center and found a crystal lake glowing with light. In the middle sat a massive flower made of pure energy, layers of petals like artwork. And lying at the center of that flower was a woman. She was the most beautiful person I'd ever seen. Green hair flowing like a waterfall, skin white as snow. Features so perfect they didn't seem real. She wore a dress woven from vines and flowers, sleeping peacefully on the glowing petals. The life energy of the entire island was coming from her body. She wasn't just on the island. She was the island. My system identified her as the sleeping flower goddess Flora. Legendary level. Her spirit was damaged from ancient wars, and she was in self-protective sleep. The system gave me 2 options. Predatory absorption. Kill her, take her materials, but destroy the entire island and drain all life from the sea area permanently. Or contractual awakening. Conditions unknown. I looked at her sleeping face. Killing her was out of the question. Not just because it would ruin the island, but destroying something this beautiful felt wrong. Plus, if I could wake her up, she could grow things for us. Way better deal. Then her voice echoed in our heads again. Softer this time, tired and sad. She explained she was both the island's guardian and its prisoner. Her soul was damaged, and sleep was the only way to survive. She could sense the powerful life force inside me and asked for help. She said if I could inject my yang energy into her core, it would break her sleep. In return, she and the entire dream garden would serve me. Her power could create legendary crops infused with the power of laws. A green diamond-shaped core appeared on her chest, glowing softly. Then the system alerts exploded in my head. Dual cultivation request detected. Use the multiple offspring system to merge life essence with the target. Help repair her damaged soul and ensure successful pregnancy to sign a master-servant contract. Warning, legendary level being. Will consume a large amount of energy. I stood there staring at the gorgeous goddess on her flower throne, then back at the system prompts. So, injecting life force meant exactly what I thought it meant. She wasn't asking for help. She was asking for that. I couldn't believe it. This world never stops surprising me. I stared at the system message, then back at the gorgeous goddess sleeping on her flower. So my mission to dig up soil had turned into this. But I pulled myself together. This wasn't about desire. This was strategy. A legendary flower goddess who can grow anything? If I wake her up, she joins my crew. Legendary potatoes, epic tomatoes, real sustainable farming. This was a business opportunity. Flora's voice echoed in my mind again, agreeing to my terms. Wake her up, and she serves me completely. The island and everything on it becomes mine. I had to explain things to the girls without giving away what was actually happening. I told them the island spirit needed me to use my overlord body energy to give her energy therapy to balance her yin and yang. Zhou offered to help with a massage. I nearly choked. Her idea of gentle would probably send the goddess flying. I told them to guard me in a triangle formation around the lake. No interruptions. I walked across the crystal lake. The water parted on its own, creating a mirror-smooth path. Up close, the goddess was even more stunning. Her eyelashes trembled when she sensed my energy, and her body instinctively leaned toward me. I placed my hand on the green diamond core on her chest. She let out a soft sound that echoed through my soul. Then the massive flower bud slowly closed around us, creating a private space. For hours later, it was done. The moment we finished, the flower bud burst open. Her core exploded with brilliant light, green and gold mixing together. A shockwave of life energy rippled outward from the lake. Everywhere it touched, flowers bloomed and died in seconds. Trees grew leaves and shed them instantly. The entire island's life cycle sped up 1,000 times. My energy had drained out like a flood, but my overlord body absorbed the goddess's life force in return, keeping me balanced. My body glowed gold and green. Then things went wrong. The compressed energy was too much for the island to contain. A massive green beam of light shot straight up from the lake, ripping through the clouds. The entire sky over the ordinary sea turned emerald green. You could see it for 100 miles. And then came the announcement. Every captain in the sea area heard it. Unknown high-dimensional energy detected. Legendary secret treasure suspected. Coordinates marked on the map. No rules. Good luck. Our location was just broadcast to every ship in the region. So much for keeping a low profile. That green beam shooting into the sky was a disaster for our cover. The whole sea area got an announcement. Legendary treasure detected. Coordinates marked on the map. Every ship nearby turned toward us like sharks smelling blood. Back on the Pangu, Jixia couldn't reach me because the island's energy was jamming all signals. But she didn't waste a second. She threw the entire ship into combat mode. Cannons unlocked, arrow towers charged, everyone in battle gear. That SS-level strategic planning talent turned her into a cold, commanding general in an instant. The world chat exploded. Everyone was racing toward us. Alliances, solo hunters, even sneaky types planning to let others fight first and then steal the loot. The whole southwestern region fell into chaos, all because of that beam. On the island, Zhou stared at the green light and muttered something about my treatment being really intense. Not the time, Ling. I couldn't worry about any of that. The energy exchange with Flora was at a critical point. I could feel her damaged soul being repaired, filling up like an empty vessel. Her consciousness was waking, pure and innocent, like a newborn mind coming to life for the first time. Then the beam suddenly reversed. All that green light sucked back into Flora's body like water draining into a hole. Everything went quiet. The giant flower closed around her, then bloomed again. Her eyelashes fluttered, and slowly, she opened her eyes. They were the purest emerald green I'd ever seen. She looked around at the world with wonder, like she was seeing everything for the first time. Then her gaze found me, the man who woke her up. The system confirmed it all. Flora was awake. Master-servant contract signed. And she was carrying my third child, legendary level bloodline potential. That earned me a fourth infinite transformation chance. I barely had time to process any of it before a scream cut through the air from the edge of the island. Many ships are coming. They've surrounded the Pangu. I looked up, eyes sharp. Behind me, Zhou, Sa, and Yao were tense and ready. On the Flower, Flora watched me with those confused, newborn eyes. Prepare for battle, I said quietly. Time to see what my new legendary recruit could do. Zhou and the others looked nervous when I said to prepare for battle. They kept glancing at Flora. She looked so delicate and harmless, even more fragile than Ruan. They clearly doubted she could fight. I didn't bother explaining. Through our mental link, I simply asked Flora one thing. Can you fight? She tilted her head, like she was learning the word for the first time. Then she raised one small, white hand and gently clenched her fist toward the sky. The entire island shook. Massive vines, thick as barrels, covered in sharp metallic thorns, exploded out of the ground. They twisted together into a wall of death dozens of meters high around the whole island. Out on the sea, giant blood-red lotus flowers bloomed, each one hiding a bottomless whirlpool in its center. Man-eating flowers rose from the seabed with mouths big enough to swallow boats. My peaceful little paradise had just become the deadliest trap in the ocean. Outside, the Iron Fist Alliance was already surrounding the Pangu. Their bald leader was drooling over our ship, shouting about stealing supplies and taking our girls. Standard pirate garbage. Then they saw the island transform. Vines shot from the seabed like tentacles, spearing ships and dragging pirates underwater. Not even bubbles came back up. The blood lotuses started spinning, sucking ships into their whirlpools. One level 3 raft got pulled in and turned into blood mist and splinters in a second. Their weapons couldn't even scratch the vines. What started as their hunt turned into divine punishment. Zhou, Sa, and Yao stood behind me with their jaws hanging open. They couldn't process what they were seeing. One wave of a hand, and an entire fleet was gone. I smiled. This legendary employee was absolutely worth it. When it was over, Flora pulled back her power. The island went calm again, like nothing happened. Only the sea full of wreckage proved it was real. She stepped down from her flower barefoot, walked to me, and bowed with an ancient, elegant greeting. Flora, greetings to the master. I accepted it calmly. Then she touched her belly with one finger, looked up at me with those pure, curious green eyes, and asked in complete seriousness, Master, when can I bear fruit for you? I choked on my own spit. Fruit. She said fruit. Like she was a tree. Behind me, Yao's face turned crimson. She was grinding her teeth so hard I could hear it. She looked at Flora like someone had stolen her lunch. Another woman added to the collection, and this one was a literal goddess. I could practically hear her thoughts. Leader, you big pig's trotter. Fair enough. Flora's fruit question nearly broke my brain. She was asking when the baby would come, like she was a tree waiting to bloom. I had no idea how to explain human pregnancy to a goddess who'd been asleep for ages. I told her it was a complex, life creation ritual that needed special soil, sunlight, and dew, and we hadn't prepared any of it yet. She nodded seriously like that made perfect sense. The girls weren't fooled, though. Yao pointed out my face was red. Sa said my metaphors were suspicious. Zhou, bless her, thought I meant we needed to feed Flora more fish for nutrition. I changed the subject fast. I asked Flora about the life soil, the whole reason we came here. Her answer nearly knocked me over. She said the island was created from her divine core. Every inch of ground on it was life soil. The entire island. Not a patch. Not a bucket. The whole thing. Zhou eyes went wide as plates. Even Sa couldn't hide her shock. I could barely keep calm myself. Flora confirmed we could dig it up and take it to the ship. Our food problem was about to be solved permanently. I pulled out a seed exchange card I'd fished up during our voyage and traded it for potato, tomato, and corn seeds. Then I handed a bag of potato seeds to Flora to test her powers. She poured the dry little seeds into her palm, looked at them like they were disappointing, then scattered them on the ground. She raised her hand, and green energy rippled outward. What happened next took 10 seconds. The seeds sprouted, grew vines, bloomed purple flowers, and the flowers withered. The ground started bulging. Then, pop, 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 massive golden potatoes, bigger than a person's head, burst out of the earth and piled into a small mountain. They were glowing. Actual glowing potatoes with mysterious patterns on the surface. I scanned one. Epic level golden light, sacred pattern potato. Eating one permanently boosts physical and mental stats, up to 10 points. All four of us swallowed at the same time. Zhou Ling grabbed one bigger than her face and asked the most important question. Can we mass produce these? I looked at Flora. She studied the potato mountain, then her own hands, and seemed to understand her new job. She bowed and said calmly, Master, how many do you need? Your will is the direction in which Flora grows. I thought about the 40-plus girls on my ship eating bread and fish every day. Then I thought about epic potatoes that make you stronger with every bite. From today, nobody on my ship just eats to survive. They eat to power up. Every single meal. I grabbed the communicator and called the ship, barely containing my excitement. I told Wanqing to grab her tools and get to the island. Everyone else, gear up and prepare to land. We were building a miracle farm. I was about to organize a digging operation, shovels, manpower, the whole thing. Wanqing already had her little shovel ready, and Zhou Ling was rolling up her sleeves. But Flora just tilted her head and looked at us like we were being silly. Flora has a simpler way, she said. She stepped forward barefoot, and the whole island started shaking. Millions of green light dots rose from every corner. The trees, the soil, the lake, all streaming into her palm. As the light left, the rainforest withered in seconds. Rich black soil turned to gray gravel. The entire living island was being drained. In her hand, a tiny glowing sphere formed, and inside it was the whole island, shrunk down to miniature size. Mountains, forests, the crystal lake, everything compressed into something I could hold in one palm. She'd just packed up an entire island like it was a lunchbox. Master, hurry back to the ship, she said calmly. I didn't need to be told twice. We sprinted to the shore, jumped on the landing craft, and raced back to the Pangu. The second we stepped on deck, the empty island behind us crumbled and sank into the ocean. Gone. Like a sandcastle in the tide. Everyone stared at Flora in stunned silence. This was legendary power. People struggled to move houses. She just picked up her whole home and carried it away. Yao crossed her arms and turned away with a jealous humph. She wasn't impressed. Or at least she pretended not to be. Then Flora did something nobody expected. She watched Yao's pouty pose, found it interesting, and copied it, crossing her arms and jerking her head to the side with her own little humph. She used so much force she nearly twisted her neck. The deck exploded with laughter. Zhou Ling doubled over. Even Sa's lips were twitching. Ruan stared wide-eyed, thinking this goddess was kind of adorably dumb. Yao lost it completely. She stomped her foot in frustration. Flora watched, then stomped her own foot, so hard the steel deck boomed. Yao burst into tears and threw herself into Su Tao's arms, crying that Flora was bullying her by copying everything. I rubbed my forehead. My crew was something else. I looked at the glowing sphere in my hand. The system called it Flora's Little Island, legendary quality. Inside was a self-contained space where crops grow 1,000 times faster with high chances of beneficial mutations. I just needed to place it in a room on the ship. This was our future food supply. Epic potatoes, legendary vegetables, all grown on demand. I told Zhou Ling to put it in the eco-garden room. That space now belonged to Wanqing and Flora. Everyone else, back to their posts. We needed to leave this area before more trouble showed up. I stood at the bow watching the sunset melt into the sea. The storm was over, but my mind was already on the next decision. I still had the fourth infinite transformation waiting to be used. That night I collapsed into my captain's chair, completely drained. Fighting all day, and then the whole thing with Flora had wiped me out. Jisha knocked and came in carrying hot milk. She'd just bathed, golden hair still damp, wearing a white silk robe and those black stockings she always wore. She started massaging my temples, and it felt incredible. She asked about the fourth infinite transformation. I'd been thinking about rare materials, but she stopped me. Her reasoning was perfect, as usual. We didn't lack food anymore thanks to Flora. We had unlimited water, iron, and storm cores. At this stage, we were practically invincible. No urgent weakness to fix meant no reason to waste the trump card now. Better to save it for when we find something truly game-changing in a future sea area. She was absolutely right. That SS-level brain of hers was worth more than any weapon. I showed my appreciation in the usual way. She pretended to resist, said it was late, and she should go back. I pointed out the wind was rough outside, and her new stockings might get ruined. She told me to turn off the light. The fourth transformation could wait. The next morning was peaceful for once. No monsters, no pirates. Just seagulls and gentle waves. Zhou Ling was fishing off the railing with a rod that looked like rebar, pulling up buckets of strange seafood. Sa was doing morning exercises in a tank top, showing off abs that could cut glass. The real entertainment was happening in the leisure area. Wanqing was trying to get Flora to wear actual clothes instead of her leaf dress. Flora was terrified of underwear, clutching her chest and refusing. She said it was too tight and that her assets, liked freedom, and didn't want to be locked in a cage. I nearly spat out my drink hearing that. Wanqing gave me a desperate look. I walked over and told Flora to follow local customs. She immediately became obedient, closed her eyes with a dramatic, self-sacrificing expression, spread her arms wide, and said, "Come, restrain me." We were all speechless. This goddess might be beyond help. After a messy struggle, she ended up in a white t-shirt and denim shorts. She wore the shirt backwards, but at least everything important was covered. Standing barefoot on the deck with that innocent face and stunning beauty, she was quite a sight. I sat back in my lounge chair and checked the ship's status. The Pangu was strong, well-supplied, and every crew member could hold her own in a fight. My physique had climbed to 65, 6.5 times the strength of a normal person, thanks to Flora's epic food. Things were good, really good, and I still had that fourth transformation saved up for when I truly needed it. The smell that morning was incredible. Zhang Xiaoping was cooking the epic golden light potatoes in a big iron pot on deck. When she lifted the lid, golden steam rose up like magic. The potatoes had cracked open, showing a translucent white inside that looked like jade. I called mealtime, and over 40 girls swarmed around the pot. They tried to look polite, but their eyes said they hadn't eaten properly in weeks. Wanqing kept order, handing out 1 potato each. I gave the first bowl to Zhixia, then took mine. The moment it hit my tongue, it melted, smooth and warm like the finest ice cream. A wave of heat rushed through my body. The system confirmed it. Physique plus 0.5, spirit plus 0.5 from just 1 potato. Small per serving, but eaten daily? That's a rocket boost. Then things got interesting. The girls started overheating. The epic level energy was too much for their bodies to handle quickly. Unlike me with my overlord body, they couldn't digest it fast enough. Their temperatures spiked. Su Tao's face turned red as an apple. Ruan unbuttoned her collar, panting. Yao threw off her jacket, leaving just a sports vest. Even Zhixia was breathing hard, her glasses slipping down, looking at me for help. I had to look away and stare at the ocean. The deck had turned into, well, it was testing every ounce of my self-control. I told everyone to sit cross-legged and breathe to digest the energy, and to take off heavy layers to cool down, trust the science. That was all they needed to hear. Jackets flew everywhere. Then Flora wandered over, completely unaffected. This energy was nothing to a goddess. She saw me sweating, wiped my forehead with her cool hand, and started unbuttoning my collar to help me cool down. I grabbed her hand fast. If she kept going, the whole ship would capsize. The whole thing lasted about an hour. When the girls finally finished absorbing the energy and got dressed again, the transformation was real. Average physique across the crew jumped significantly. Girls who used to be at baseline were now hitting 12 or 13. The ship's overall combat rating went up. Zhou Ling did backflips on the deck and promised to punch anyone who messed with us so hard she'd stuff their head into their own backside. Everyone cracked up. I noticed one little side effect, though. The girls had gotten bolder. Before, they looked at me with shy admiration. Now their eyes were more like curious explorers spotting new territory. They started asking to touch my muscles and commenting on my abs. I laughed and pushed their hands away. My crew was turning into a bunch of troublemakers. But honestly, sitting in my lounge chair watching them all laughing and full of energy, stronger than they'd ever been, it was the best feeling in the world. I was lounging on deck, watching the girls celebrate their new strength. Zhou Ling was bragging about punching things. Yao was showing off her dragon's fire breath, and Ruan was quietly eating potatoes with the happiest little smile. Everything felt perfect. Then I realized I'd forgotten something important. With all the exploring and recruiting Flora, I hadn't upgraded the ship in a while. The Pangu was still level 6, and I had unlimited storm cores just sitting around. Before I could act on that thought, the sky turned pure gold. A massive golden light curtain dropped from above, covering the entire sea. Ancient characters appeared one by one, carrying a weight that made everyone stop breathing. The newbie protection period was over. The sea god was launching 3 new systems: a daily mission board with rewards, a global survival ranking based on ship power, and a global crew ranking based on crew strength. Both rankings would update weekly with rewards for the top 100. Everyone went quiet. I opened my panel and checked the crew ranking first. We were first. Flora's legendary rating carried us to the top. But I knew the truth. Flora was a gardener and support unit, not a frontline fighter. Without her home terrain advantage, she couldn't match the epic-rated fighters on other ships. That first place felt hollow. The names below us caught my attention too. Ocean General Bump Bump and Sea Yasha Crimson Village, clearly not normal survivors. Other captains had recruited powerful local beings, just like I'd recruited Flora. Then I opened the survival ranking, and reality hit hard. We were 5th. First place was the Leviathan, a level 8 war fortress captained by someone named Elida. Second was Kiramaru, a level 7 demon god ship. Third and fourth were also level 7. Our level 6 Pangu looked small by comparison. The girls' confidence crumbled. Zhou couldn't believe it. Yao stomped her foot. They'd just felt invincible, and now they saw there were ships 2 whole levels above ours. I stood up and faced everyone. I told them straight. Yes, we're 5th. No, we're not the strongest. But that just means we have room to grow. I asked them what they wanted. Hide on this ship forever and pray we never meet something bigger, or fight to make the Pangu the real number 1. Zhou punched the air first. Sa's eyes lit up with fire. The whole crew's spirit came roaring back. Jixia stepped in with the practical side. To reach level 7, we needed rare materials like colorful glazed wood that barely existed on the trading market. The captains who had those materials needed them for their own ships. She pointed to the last new feature, the Sea God mission board. Tasks with specific rewards listed clearly. Much better than wandering around hoping to find what we needed. That was our next move. Time to start grinding missions and climb that ranking. I opened the mission board right away. A huge list of tasks appeared, organized by difficulty. Every captain had to complete at least 1 mission matching their ship's level each week, or face a force tidal attack. Other missions were optional but open to everyone. First to finish gets the reward. The epic level mission caught my eye immediately. Clear out the nest of something called the Howling Banshee. The reward included a precious material exchange card worth 10,000 units of rare materials. Exactly what I needed for the level 7 upgrade. Plus an epic treasure chest and 1,000 points. I checked the upgrade requirements for the Pangu. 200,000 planks, 80,000 iron blocks, 10 storm cores, 10,000 growth soil, 10,000 mermaid shell powder. Most of that I could handle with unlimited resources. But the rare stuff needed that exchange card. The catch? The mission was open to all captains. 8 others had already accepted it, and only 1 captain could complete it. So we'd be fighting the Banshee and watching our backs for rival ships at the same time. I told Jixia to plan the route. She locked in the coordinates without hesitation. That night, the Pangu ran at full power through dark water, cutting a white trail across the sea. The girls went quiet and serious, checking crossbows, cleaning weapons, feeding battle pets. Nobody knew what we'd find at the mission site. The details were locked until we arrived. I stood alone at the captain's window, staring at the ocean. The rankings had shattered my idea of taking things slow. I thought I could develop steadily, build up the Pangu at my own pace. But the world was moving faster than I expected. Other captains had level 7 and 8 ships. If I didn't push forward hard, I'd fall behind. And falling behind in this world meant death. The old rule echoed in my mind. Defeat a captain, take everything they own. That rule worked both ways. A knock at the door broke my thoughts. Jixia came in carrying hot coffee, wearing a cozy sweater and her usual black stockings with soft house heels. She looked softer than during the day, less commander, more like someone who just wanted to take care of me. Jixia came to talk strategy while massaging my temples. She'd analyzed the global data. A level 8 ship was probably 10 times stronger than our level 6. The gap was real, but she pointed out that those top captains were likely doing legendary missions, so we probably wouldn't run into them yet. As long as we gathered rare resources, we could close the gap. The key was completing the Howling Banshee mission. We needed to reach level 7 before the weekly rewards dropped, or the gap between 1st and 5th place would get even worse. The mood got heavy. Then I noticed her stockings had a small tear. A tiny strip of white skin peeked through the black fabric. She panicked when I pointed it out, trying to cover it, face turning bright red. I crouched down and made it worse, pulled the tear open a tiny bit more. She gasped and went completely stiff. Her brain shut down. Rankings, strategy, all of it, gone. Then I stood up, went to my storage box, and pulled out a brand new pair of black stockings. I'd stocked up on clothes and supplies for the girls using unlimited water as trade currency. I placed the package in her trembling hand and told her to put them on. Tomorrow was a battle day. Our strategist needed to look sharp. She sat there stunned, clutching the stockings, staring at my back. After a long pause, she said she'd head back to her room. 3 hours later, she finally left. I noticed she leaned against the wall outside and took a deep breath before walking away. The new stockings were already torn too. Out on deck, Yao was stabbing a piece of wood with a little knife. She'd carved a stick figure on it labeled, "Big Pervert Captain." She was muttering about me being alone with that fox strategist late at night. Her dragon nuzzled her face, trying to calm her down. She swore she'd prove she was the strongest woman on the ship after the Banshee mission. On the lookout platform, Juan was watching the captain's room, her face pink. She'd apparently seen Zhixia leave in a hurry, walking a little unsteady. Sa appeared behind her and whispered that if she didn't start making moves, Zhixia would take everything. Juan denied it, but I could tell, even from a distance, that she was gripping her clothes tighter than usual. My ship was full of drama. But tomorrow, all of that would take a back seat. We had a banshee to kill. The voyage to the mission area was long and boring. I spent the time studying the mission channel, a temporary chat group with all 8 captains who'd accepted the epic quest. I sized everyone up through their messages. T-Rex was loud and impatient, the type to charge in first and think later, good cannon fodder. Old Turtle acted careful and wise, but was probably the backstabbing type. Cobra was sharp-tongued and selfish. Laughing Buddha talked about peace and teamwork, but clearly only cared about himself behind that fake smile. I labeled each one in my head and barely said a word. Just typed, "Okay," once and closed the channel. In a group of wolves, the less you reveal, the safer you are. Laughing Buddha suggested that when we arrived, all ships keep 1 nautical mile distance, then each send 3 people to meet in the center to discuss plans. It was reasonable enough. Prevents surprise attacks and lets everyone see who they're dealing with. Everyone agreed. Back on the ship, my crew was locked in. Zhouling kept testing her shield like it was a toy. Sa polished her blade until it was colder than her expression. Yao leaned against a wall while her dragon growled at her feet, ready to fight. Even Su Tao was in the corner practicing tougher bubbles, her cheeks puffed out with concentration. I checked in with Zhixia at the sea map. Her report wasn't great. The target area was called the Whaling Trench. The magnetic field there was so unstable our scanning equipment would be useless inside. Worse, she'd found reports that the area had a constant weakening effect on all living things. Everyone who got close felt drained and pressured. That was bad news. My whole fighting style depended on my overlord body stats. If those got weakened, I'd lose my biggest advantage. This mission was going to be harder than I'd hoped. The confidence from our recent power boost faded fast. This world never lets you relax. 2 days later, we arrived at dawn. Su Tao's shaky voice came through the communicator from the lookout tower. We'd made it. I ran to the bow. A disgusting wind hit me. Rotten, salty, heavy enough to make me step back. The sea ahead wasn't blue anymore. It was dead gray-black, covered in thick fog. Visibility dropped to less than 100 meters. Through the mist, I could make out 7 massive shapes. The other ships. They sat there like ancient beasts in the dark, silent and dangerous, all facing each other. 8 forces. 1 mission. Only 1 winner. The tension was suffocating. The Whaling Trench was the most unsettling place I'd ever been. The water was thick like ink, completely still. The air smelled rotten, and faint screams echoed inside my skull, not through my ears, but directly in my brain. I could feel the weakening effect immediately. My overlord body's power was being slowly drained. Not enough to cripple me, My physique was still equal to nearly 8 adults, but it was constant and annoying. The girls felt it too. Ruan went pale and whispered about the oppressive feeling. I told everyone to hold position and stay sharp. 8 ships sat in a loose circle, each one looking dangerous. The T-Rex ship was covered in bones like a sea monster's skeleton. Cobra's ship was black with snake-like markings. Laughing Buddha's was golden with an actual Buddha statue on the bow. When the meeting signal came, I took Zhou Ling and Sa on a small boat to the central platform, a makeshift island of driftwood and wreckage. About 20 people from all 8 groups gathered. T-Rex was a mountain of a man, over 2 meters tall, covered in scars, carrying a blood axe the size of a door. Pure muscle, no brain. Laughing Buddha was a bald monk with shifty eyes, looked holy, thought like a merchant. Cobra was a thin, creepy guy who kept licking his lips and sizing everyone up like cuts of meat. When they saw I only brought 2 girls, T-Rex laughed and asked if we were playing around. Zhou Ling answered by slamming her shield so hard the whole platform shook. Sa's hand twitched on her sword, and her killing intent locked onto him like a laser. He shut up. In the center of the platform was a massive whirlpool, 1,000 meters across, gray-black water spiraling into darkness. The screams came from down there. That was the banshee's nest. Laughing Buddha said there was a hidden world below, but the pull was too strong and the mental shock too dangerous to dive through alone. Cobra suggested all 8 ships anchor at the edge and lower ropes down together. Support each other, share the risk. I almost laughed. Classic trap. 8 ships tied together meant nobody could escape without cutting everyone else's ropes first. If things went bad underwater, the real fight would be between us, not the monsters. But I couldn't refuse. Staying out of the alliance would make me the first target everyone ganged up on. So I smiled and agreed. Back on the Pangu, I told Jixiao everything. She called it exactly what it was, a scheme hiding in plain sight. Everyone knew it was a trap, but nobody could say no. I gave my orders. Replace all our anchors and ropes with epic-grade alloy, the strongest we had. Keep Yao's dragon ready for aerial support at any moment. If these allies tried anything funny, they'd learn what real firepower from the sky looked like. The 8 ships moved into position around the whirlpool. Anchors crashed into the seabed. Thick ropes dropped into the darkness below. An alliance built on lies and suspicion was officially in motion. I stood at the bow, staring into that bottomless black hole. Whatever was down there, we were going in. Prepare to enter. The night before the dive, the whole ship was tense. Everyone was checking gear and preparing for tomorrow. Then one knocked on my door. She was wearing an oversized white shirt I'd given her, looking tiny and scared. Her peach blossom eyes were teary. She said she couldn't sleep. The whirlpool felt wrong, and her instincts were screaming danger. She was afraid her luck talent might draw a bad card and bring trouble to everyone. I took her cold hand and told her not to worry. Even if the sky fell, I'd hold it up. She was my lucky charm. Bad luck didn't exist around her. Then I got an idea. I told her I had a special training method to help strengthen her body before tomorrow's battle. Through physical contact, I could guide my overlord body energy into her and boost her condition. The explanation was a little thin, but Ruan was Ruan. She trusted me completely. I sat her on the bed and wrapped my arms around her from behind. She went stiff as a board, her back pressed against my chest. I told her to relax and feel the energy. Her brain basically shut down. She couldn't hear a word about energy guidance. She just melted like butter. To be fair, the energy transfer part was real. My overlord body could nourish others through contact. It was slower than other methods, but it worked. She felt warmth flowing through her, pushing away the weakness from the trench's pressure. The training session went on for a long time. Very thorough. Afterward, Ruan curled up in my arms like a happy kitten, sound asleep with dried tears at the corners of her eyes and a peaceful smile on her face. I pulled the blanket over her and let out a satisfied breath. Then the system surprised me. Golden notifications popped up. Apparently, Ruan had unlocked new potential through our session. Her lot-drawing talent now had a tiny chance to trigger something called a divine sign, which would grant a one-time goddess blessing. I stared at the screen. So this kind of thing could upgrade talents too? These training classes needed to happen more often. With a mythical level blessing possibility in my pocket, Tomorrow's banshee mission just got a lot more interesting. I hugged my lucky goddess tight and closed my eyes. Time to sleep. Big day tomorrow. I woke up feeling incredible. My physique had hit 80 points, the strength of 8 grown men. Ruan was still curled up next to me like a happy, exhausted kitten. When she woke up, she could barely move. Her face went red the moment last night's memories came flooding back, and she buried her head in the pillow. I told her to get up. We had a lucky draw to do before the mission. She sat up, pulled out her scroll, and shook it with her eyes closed. Then the system announced something I'd never seen before. Her extreme happiness state had triggered a hidden critical hit on her divine sign talent. Golden light exploded from the scroll. Out dropped a mythical quality sign called Goddess's Sigh. It creates a completely safe zone within 50 meters for 30 minutes. During that time, nothing can hurt us. No physical attacks, no magic, no mental attacks, nothing. And friendlies inside recover health and energy every second. A 30-minute invincibility card. For an epic mission where death could come any second, this was basically a cheat code. I kissed Ruan on the cheek and told her she was our greatest treasure. She smiled like a little crescent moon, not fully understanding what she'd just created. I stored the sign and stepped outside. Yao was leaning against the wall with her arms crossed, glaring at me. She'd clearly been waiting all night, stewing in jealousy. She made a sarcastic comment about my late night teaching. I pinched her cheek and asked if she wanted to sign up for class 2. She slapped my hand away, face burning red. Saw Ruan come out walking funny and whistled, giving her an 8.8 score. Ruan wanted to die. Then the mission channel buzzed. Laughing Buddha said the whirlpool's mental interference was at its weakest now. Each ship would send 10 elite fighters down by cable. Everyone agreed. 10 was the right number. Too few looked weak. Too many left the ship exposed. I called my team. Zhou Ling, Sa, Yao, Su Tao, my 4 core fighters. 6 more brave girls volunteered. 10 total. I put Jixia and Flora in charge of the ship. Jixia pushed up her glasses and said anyone who attacked the Pangu would learn why the flowers bloom red. Flora tried to copy her serious expression and repeated, "Humph," in her innocent voice. I nearly laughed. Everyone geared up. 8 ships lowered 8 thick alloy cables into the swirling black vortex below. Time to go into the abyss. Going down was like being shoved into a barrel of tar. Cold, dark, sticky. The crying sounds weren't just noise anymore. They felt like needles poking into my brain. Su Tao went pale immediately. Her mental talent made her extra sensitive to this kind of attack. Even her bubble hands were shaking. The trench was suppressing everyone's abilities just by existing. I felt it too. My energy slowed down like something heavy was sitting on it. But my overlord body at 80 physique fired up like a furnace and burned the cold away. For me, it was just like wearing a tight sweater. Annoying, not dangerous. At 50 meters deep, Cobra made his first move. His rope suddenly whipped toward us like a giant snake. If it connected, it would have knocked my whole team into the abyss. Zhou Ling reacted instantly. She locked her legs on our rope, freed one hand, and smashed her shield into the incoming rope with 5 times her normal strength. The collision boomed like a bell in the deep. She didn't budge an inch. Cobra laughed it off, claiming his hand, slipped. Pure garbage. I didn't waste words. I whispered to Sa to send them a gift. She vanished into the darkness. 3 seconds later, a scream echoed from Cobra's rope. One of his rear guards lost his entire hand, cut clean off. Sa reappeared next to me, her blade spotless. Nobody on Cobra's side said another word after that. We reached the bottom, a huge underwater cave with a stone platform and a broken ancient altar in the center. Dozens of floating black shadows surrounded it, twisted and faceless, wailing loud enough to scramble your thoughts. Elite monsters called wailing shadows, half immune to physical attacks and carrying mental pollution. Weak against light and pure energy. T-Rex charged in first like an idiot, swinging his giant axe. It went straight through the shadows like hitting smoke. They hit him back with a mental shockwave, and he stumbled around like a drunk grandmother. I called Yao. She'd been holding back for days and was ready to explode. Her dragon flew up and unleashed a lightning fire breath that vaporized every shadow it touched. Physical immunity meant nothing against real magic damage. The cave lit up like daylight. While T-Rex's jaw was still on the floor, my team finished the cleanup. Zhou Ling pushed forward with her shield. Sa ghosted around finishing stragglers. Su Tao locked down targets with bubbles. We cleared our entire section without a scratch. Some of my girls were checking their hair afterward. T-Rex's side had 2 guys turned into drooling vegetables from mental shock. The gap between our teams was embarrassing. Then Cobra pointed at the altar. The gray stone was now glowing with red writing. Ancient text flowing like blood. My weakness insight translated it instantly. Sacrifice 8 unyielding souls to awaken the sleeping master. 8. Exactly how many captains were here? This whole place was a trap designed to make us kill each other. I opened my mouth to warn everyone. Too late. A wet, ugly sound, blade through flesh. Old Turtle looked down at the golden dagger sticking out of his chest. Behind him, Laughing Buddha pulled the blade out slowly, still smiling that fake holy smile. Ba, he said calmly, bowing to the dying man. The altar needs an offering. If you won't enter hell, who will? Old Turtle dropped. The moment he died, every crew member behind him collapsed too. Their life force just vanished. The game had changed. This wasn't a mission anymore. It was a death match. Everything fell apart the second Laughing Buddha stabbed Old Turtle. The fake alliance was dead before the blood hit the ground. I said nothing. Signaled my team to back into a corner against the rock wall. Easy to defend, hard to attack. Zhou Ling planted her shield in front of us like a fortress wall. Sam melted into the shadows. Yao's dragon crackled with lightning on her shoulder, warning everyone to stay away. We watched. Laughing Buddha went after T-Rex. Cobra slithered toward the weaker captains. Skills flashed everywhere. Screams echoed off the walls. It was exactly the chaos I expected. T-Rex fought hard but stupid. Laughing Buddha's strange movement and deadly blade technique carved him up. Cobra picked off the weak ones efficiently. 2 more captains fell fast. When the 4th captain died, the altar cracked open. A freezing wave blasted through the cave. Black mist gathered above the altar and formed the shape of a woman. Long hair made of pure despair, no face, radiating sadness so heavy it made my skin crawl. The Morning Wraith. Epic rank, climbing toward legendary. My weakness insight couldn't even read her skills, just garbled symbols. That had never happened before. She screamed. One sound. T-Rex, the biggest, toughest guy there, bled from every hole in his face. Then she pointed at him, pulled his soul straight out of his body like sucking jelly through a straw, and swallowed it. He shriveled up like a popped balloon. 5th captain gone. She grew bigger and stronger with every soul she ate. My team survived because Zhou Ling's shield blocked the physical force, and Su Tao's bubble absorbed the mental attack. Everyone else in the cave wasn't so lucky. 7 or 8 fighters dropped instantly, foaming at the mouth. Laughing Buddha fought the Wraith next. He had some kind of golden body technique that let him take a direct hit and survive, but even he lost 20% of his energy from one strike. He tried to drag us in, shouting for Yao to use her dragon breath. I saw right through him. He wanted to use us as shields while he escaped. I told Yao to hold her fire and wait for my command. She was frustrated but obeyed. Laughing Buddha snapped. He charged at the Wraith, then twisted at the last second and ran straight toward us, trying to lead the monster to our position. Classic move. Divert the disaster to someone else. Zhou Ling slammed her shield down. Sa went invisible with killing intent. I didn't even flinch. I straightened my sleeves. Then the Wraith used her big move. Despair Echo, a visible black shockwave that hit everything in the entire cave. No dodging, no hiding. Laughing Buddha took it point blank. His golden body shattered like glass. He collapsed, bleeding from everywhere, barely alive. Cobra, hiding far away, got hit too. He rolled on the ground screaming. His mind scrambled to mush. One attack cleared the entire field. Every other captain was down or dead. Now it was just us and the monster. The Despair Echo wiped out everyone else in the cave. Laughing Buddha, Cobra, all their crews, brains burst, dead on the spot. Every other captain who entered the vortex was gone. Just us and the monster now. The Wraith turned toward us, the only living things left. The targeting pressure hit like a wall. Some of my girls looked ready to give up. Su Tao asked if we should retreat. I looked up at the dark vortex above us. That thing would never let us climb out alive. Then my weakness insight flashed a warning that froze my blood. The Wraith was charging a skill called Endings, an instant death judgment. Can't block. Can't dodge. That was it. Time to use our last card. I pulled out the divine sign, Goddess's Sigh, the pseudo-mythical item Juan had drawn that morning. I crushed it without hesitation. A gentle golden light expanded from where I stood. Warm, holy, absolute. The Wraith's death ball slammed into it, and just dissolved, like ink dropped into an ocean. Gone. No explosion, no shockwave. Nothing. Inside the golden barrier, we were perfectly safe. The girls' color came back. Their health and mental energy started recovering. Outside, the Wraith screamed and clawed and blasted us with everything she had. Not a scratch. 30 minutes of total invincibility. We used every second. Jixia analyzed the Wraith's attack patterns from the ship through our communicator. She figured out that after the big move, the Wraith would be weak for about 5 minutes with her core energy at its lowest. She laid out the battle plan. Yao hits first with Dragon Breath to break the energy shield. Zhou Ling holds the front. Sa finds an opening to cut the core. Su Tao controls. As the timer ran down, the Wraith was visibly exhausted. Her attack slowed. Her form flickered. The golden shield faded. Now Yao unleashed everything. Compressed lightning and fire breath, like a blazing spear, punched straight through the Wraith's core. Her body of black mist ripped open with a massive hole. I charged in with my mantis blade, aiming for the exposed core. Then she stopped. All the rage, all the screaming, gone. What replaced it was pure sadness. Relief. Her faceless head slowly turned toward me, and a tiny, desperate voice entered my mind. Kill me. My blade froze mid-swing.